Hi, my name is Sean Ferguson with Skill Builders Institute, and I'm here today to go over a new exciting series that we're going to be focused on for the next few weeks. And this is going to be what I'm calling projects. This is where I take applications and create real world usage from those. So for instance, I have a few clients who I've talked to and who I've worked with. And in our first example, the first client introduced a problem that we want to look at. And we're going to break that problem down. We're going to understand the problem first. We're going to break that problem down. And then we're going to create a solution for that problem. Now, this solution is going to be a unique solution. It's not going to be something that we can go out and buy. We want to purposely create a solution that is focused specifically for that organization or for that business. So join me on this journey as we go through specific projects. Look, the hard truth is nearly half the small businesses won't survive. And it's not because they're products and services. It's because they don't have systems in place to manage business and customer relationships. There's customers on Facebook, LinkedIn, your phone, business cards, everywhere. Nothing really ties them together in a way that can be useful. But imagine this. What if there was a system that followed up exactly the same way every time, without you lifting a finger? A system built for you, not the other way around. It isn't about knowing how to do everything. It's about asking the right questions and following an improvement strategy. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that here. We're in a time where anything is possible by anyone. Whether you're a one-person shop or you have a team, there's tools that exist that can build anything. Let that sink in for a moment. So the difference between failing and thriving could simply be the system that you put in place. By the end, you won't just have watched me put together a system. You will have a repeatable framework that you can use for any project with hopes that you can see how endless the possibilities are, from problem to solution to production. Let's dive in and build these skills. So the first thing we want to do is use the problem statement that was provided and just make it better. So here's the problem statement that I started with. I just pasted in the buffer. I need a list of bookstores across the United States to send letters to, with the hopes that they can carry their books. Once they hear from them, they need to manage the status, whether the letter was sent, a phone call was provided, a second phone call was provided, and they're open to consignment. There's a few resources that they provided. There's a format for the data file. And the first step we need to do is just make this problem statement into something that is better suited for development. So I'm going to ask I'm going to say, can you help me revise the problem statement below to make it more robust for an application to be developed from it. So that's what we'll do, and we'll just put that in and see what it creates. So it's creating a system. It looks like it's providing us with information based on the data that we've provided. It's giving us a dashboard, and it's telling us, okay, so it provided with some really useful information to get us started with, right? So this breaks out our problem statement and makes it a little more robust so that we can use it to start developing from. So what we can do, first, let's just copy this information. I'll copy this and then I'll paste it in a document somewhere on my system so that I can refer to it later. So at this point, this is the main piece we wanted to do right now. It's just get a revised problem statement. So now you understand what the problem is. Welcome back. So the first tool that we're going to use to help us is called Replit. And what this tool does is going to take the information that we were able to create from Claude that refined our problem statement, and we're going to paste it into Replit. Replit's going to take that information and try to generate something useful. So I paste that in there and kind of wait for it to go. So it's building the information currently. So it's working. We'll just let it work. So we'll see how it goes. So this is what it came back and said. It's telling us that it understands our specifications. It's telling us things that it wants to do and wants to create. And now it's asking us, do we want to start with the design or build the entire app? And I am going to build the entire app. Actually, no, guess not. I'm going to start with the design. I guess when you build the entire app, you can't do it on the free account. So I'm going to start with the design and let it start designing. So it's going through this process, and it understands exactly what we want to do. I'm looking at the notes. The notes that it spit out, and it's really good information. It looks like it's going to use a database, an interface that allows for optimized data entry. There's going to be a mailing list, importer, a dashboard that shows visualization of how many bookstores they've been added. This really looks like it's going to be a pretty robust system for what we're looking for. And remember, all we did was provided the basic specs, the specifications that the client gave me, and then we optimized that and got some refined specifications. We put those specifications in Replit, and now we're just kind of waiting to see what it creates. So it looks like it's created something visually that we can start to use now and take a look at. So this is the dashboard, and it's funny how it sometimes creates names. It created Bookworm Connect as a name for the project, but I see within the system it called it Bookstore CRM. So if we click on the link for bookstores, this shows all the different bookstores that are available. Reports, this page isn't done yet. They're still probably working on it. If you want to import, if we click on add, this allows you to add the different characteristics of the bookstore. Excellent. Let's look at settings. Settings page is coming soon too. So it looks like it created some of the functionality and gave us a good starting point. So now what it's asking, what do we think of the design? I say keep iterating on design. Let's see what colors. Incorporate. Let's see. What colors are we going to use? So I just said, hey, incorporate orange and blues and tones that go with that. I don't know any design. I'm not a designer. So I should have just let it go and start designing the functionality, but I told it to incorporate the design. So now it's going to go through and start incorporating some design components to the actual application. But look at this. This is at a really good point so far there's things that we want to incorporate, so the functionality behind the number of stores, letters sent, calls made, consignment. We need to see how that functionality is going to exist. So we need to, tighten that up and see how we're going to integrate that. But at least it's a placeholder there that we can incorporate. It even has a night vision, day vision. Pretty cool. Theme creator. Okay, so it looks like there's going to be some other things made. It looked like it added the blue integration to it. So it added blue buttons and orange accents to the systems. Now that it's complete with what it's going to do for the design and putting together what our vision is, we need to download this to our own computer so we can take it further. It gave us a starting point, and now we need to build towards it. So I'm going to click on this button to the right of Publish. And in here, there's going to be 3 dots and then download as zip. This is going to allow us to download this application as a zip file. The next step is to open up Cursor, and hopefully you've downloaded it, installed it, and ran through that process. If you need any help with that, please leave comments and I'll make sure I send you information to walk through that. But Cursor is going to allow you to kind of fine-tune this application. So I open up Cursor, and this is where I am, and it looks like there's a plan mode, which is very timely because that may be something that we want to incorporate. We have the system in place, and now we want to make this, we want to incorporate the actual functionality behind the system. So we're going to try this plan mode because this is exactly what we need. We need to, now that we have a working prototype of the visual design, we need to add the functionality behind it. We have a plan on what the functionality is, but we don't have we have a idea of what functionality we need, but we don't have a plan for that. So we're going to use this plan mode to do just that. So when you're in Cursor, this is kind of the interface. On the left side, you see the files that are related. So when I unzipped all the files, I put them in a separate directory, and then I open up that directory from Cursor. And then these are all the files that exist from that zip file from downloading it from Replit. On the right side is where we actually communicate with the agent. This is the actual, in a lot of cases, ChatGPT, what people would use as ChatGPT. But this is not just limited to ChatGPT. This allows you to use other models. And that's what's so powerful about it, because you can use ChatGPT for some things. You can use Claude for some things. You can use just a number of LLMs for different tasks. So the first thing that I want to do as part of the planning mode is I want to actually break the actual document down into a development plan and then into sprints. And then I want to break those sprints into user stories, testable user stories. So I'm going to tell the LLM this first because I want to take the information from this product statement and I want to break it down into a development plan. So this would be something that you would give a team of application developers. And then from that development plan, we want to break that down into sprints. So we're going to say break the problem statement.md down into a development plan and then sprints. And we can also click here. I think we do a @ sign, and then that allows us to find files. So if we want to add a file, oops, that's not the way we want to do it. This is where you choose the different mode, and we're in plan mode. If we were in agent mode, that would actually write the code for us, but we're in plan mode, and that looks like that's going to be sufficient. And now, which model do we want to use? And I'm going to use Sonnet 4.5. I think that it's a great model. It's very comprehensive. I think this, along with ChatGPT 5, are great, but this is really good for application development. So I'm going to go ahead and Click on that. So it's looking at the code base, it's looking at the document that I pointed out, and it's saying, hey, I need to figure out what I need to do. So it's creating a project plan, like I told it, a development plan, I'm sorry, to start the application development of this process. So it's going to go through that, continue polishing up this plan, and then it's going to do the next step of that. And that's to break the plan down into into sprints, and then break each of those sprints down into user stories. So it's going to go through that process, which is going to help us, because then only thing we need to do is tell it to go follow the plan that it created. So we'll let it continue to develop this plan, and I'll return once it completes. So what it's put together so far has been pretty remarkable. It took that information and it created a few sprints and then user stories within those sprints. And what user stories are, they're just how the users intend on using the application. So by creating user stories, helps the engine understand the intended use, so it can ensure that that functionality exists. You'll notice that you have the user story and then you have an acceptance criteria. This is to ensure that the user story is completed. So it goes through this process and has all these different aspects as a part of it. Pretty remarkable, pretty remarkable. Now what we're going to do is tell it to go through and do these user stories, right? And you'll notice on the side, it's created a plan for us. And now it's asking us, do you want to go ahead and build it? We're going to say, yeah, build that plan. And it's going to go through and start applying each of those user stories to ensure that it programs it correctly. So you'll notice, let's see what it said. It's going to look at the code base. It's updating the database schema, which is great. It may see that it needs to be a little more robust, or they didn't, when they initially set it up on Replit, it wasn't far enough. So it sees that, hey, we need to incorporate some more aspects to this. So it's going through the steps. So it's going through all these steps. So we've done the first option. We went to the step one, went to go get a free database from Neon. We didn't have to fill out a credit card. We created a project. We got all this information. And then we were able to get all this information from Neon. The most important thing is this database URL, right? So it figured out all that and gave us that information. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to press a button to get that information. Now it wants us to run this command and then open our browser. So first we need to click on this button here, toggle display in the bottom. And what this is, this actually gives you access to the terminal. So right here is the actual terminal. And we'll just do a new terminal window. The terminal is actually like DOS commands. So when you want to run DOS commands and things like that, that's the best way I can kind of equate it. So for our purposes, we're going to go to, we're going to use the command that they say npm run db push what did it say? Okay, so it gave us an error. In this case, I don't know what's going on, right? So we'll copy that. I usually copy this HTML. We'll paste it in here and say, it provided an error when I try step 3, set up and run. And then I'm going to paste the error message below it and see what it has to say about that. So it's saying, hey, you need to create the file. And it looks like, let's see, it's telling me to do it again, but for some reason it's not looking at it. So let's see, give it a name, like, okay, copy the connection string, create an env file. So the question is, what is my env file part? That's the problem. That's the problem. So when I look at I created that env file, but it's not even, this is it right here. It's not in the right location. So I need to copy all of it. And I'll just save as, I want to save it as the root of our, the root of our project. Yeah. So now it put it in the right place. So it looks like that was the problem. It was in the wrong place. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. Okay, so now we look like we have it set up in the right place. So if I look in the bookstore directory, okay, yep, it's at the root. So now if we run the command, it should probably give us a better situation. So if we click on the up arrow, because we ran it before, it should allow us to run it again. Now it's connecting and it's looking like it's applying. It looked like it did. It said the changes have been applied. So that's a good start. So now we'll type in the next command, npm run dev. And this is going to be the moment of truth. This is where it's actually going to boot up a server, and it's going to show us, but it didn't run because it said the database isn't provisioned. And I thought we just did that. So we'll do this again. We'll copy everything, right click and say copy as HTML, and we'll say it seemed to allow part of the process to run, but when I try to run npm run dev, received these errors. And then I'll just paste those errors there and see what it has to say about that. So it is okay. So it says that, hey, the database looked like it was pushed to the database. The changes are added, which means our env file is correct. The issue is that the npm run isn't loading the env file. So it's going to fix that. So when I run npm run dev, it's going to include the env file. So it's running some commands, and it looks like it's starting it. So it looks like it's starting it for us. To figure out, okay, so now it told us that everything seems to be running, and now it's going to probably provide us with a URL to test this out on. So this is I think where it shines, because it's doing a whole bunch of stuff and I have no clue. You know, I could, if I wanted to research and understand exactly what it's doing, I can find out. My background helps me, but I don't need to. All I need to do is make it work, really, right? And I can tell it, hey, go fix this, figure this out. Why isn't this working? And it generally figures it out, as we're seeing right now. You know, we're trying to get it to run. For whatever reason, it's not working, and now it's going to figure out why it's not working. So it sees that the port that it tried to use is used for AirPlay. So it has to use a different port. So now it's going to use port 5001. So it's probably going to be set up to localhost colon 5001. And that's what we'll use to view the website. We'll see. Still not working right. So it's going through the modifications to fix it. So let's let it do its thing. I think it's pretty fascinating, man, that, you know, you don't have to know programming. You don't have to know logic. You don't have to know database programming. You don't have to know any of those things anymore. All you have to know is what you want and be able to describe it. And with the help of the tools, they help you describe it, as we saw earlier. So this is really, we're in a really great place with technology. I love technology. And I think this can be really useful to a lot of people. It can really change the trajectory. This is kind of an ability to, equalize our playing ground. Oftentimes, it's very hard to come up with the capital to get websites developed, to get systems developed, and things like that. Where now, with proper planning, you can develop a system yourself. It's pretty amazing. So let's see where it's going. It's still not quite right, but it's figuring it out. It's fixing it. It's doing what it needs to do. And that, I think that is like one of my favorite parts, because troubleshooting is very, very difficult, especially when you have all these different pieces involved. And the fact that it can help you troubleshoot and figure out what's going on with all these environments, while all these things, there's so much value added to that. So like it just did, it figured out what's going on, why the server wasn't running, made some configuration changes, installed some software, made some updates, and now it's testing to see if it's going to run again for us now. So let it see what happens. And it looks like it is running. So it's up and running. They're going to probably provide us with the URL shortly, and then we can test the application. I can show you the application so you can share how fascinating this is as well. So let's see. I'm going to try to see if we can go to the website. Let's see what the last message is, see if there's anything. Okay. Yep. So what it's provided us is the URL. It said, okay, here are the URLs that you need to use to the application. So if you want to go to the dashboard here, change the statuses here, etc. So we're just going to go straight to the dashboard. So we're going to copy this URL. It told us what it fixed as well. It told us some features to try. So it looks like it's pretty comprehensive. This is Replit, so we're going to just use the application, that link that it provided, and look at this. Here we are. We're all wired up. Now, it doesn't have any bookstores listed, but it has all the information wired up. We can add statuses. So like here is a status. If you want to, let's change one thing to see if it persists. It does. We'll add the D back. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So now what this does is allows the user to control the statuses to find out where the process, where the process is. These are different categories, so you can manage the categories and the store types. And these are more like configuration settings for the system. This is an email reminder. It's pretty comprehensive, man. Just for us to write, a single document to add. So let's just add this is a test record store. And this is at 555 East Main Street. And this is in, where are we at? This is in New York. I don't know New York address, so we'll say okay. So then we add any characteristics. So they focus on a mix of used and new books. They have a cafe, often has author signings. Let's see. So this one, the reason why I keep going back and forth, it's not allowing me to put any, spaces in it. Well, it did now. It's very weird. I don't know. So something we may have to look at and make sure that works properly. So we haven't had any contact. We don't know the contact person. We don't have a contact date. We want to add it to, and let it added our record. Add our record. See if any reports. We have one record in our database. We can, let's see about importing a CVS file. I don't know if I have anything with that format, but we could drag it up there and see how that functions. And look at this. And then it gives us reporting that tells us that we do have one record and they have not been contacted. It gives us a status on these other items. So this is pretty comprehensive. And again, this is something we put together in less than an hour. Here, it has a theme maker where you can do a night theme or light theme. Pretty sweet. So now the next step that I would probably want to investigate is, okay, from those references that we had, let's incorporate those records into our system. So I'll go back to Cursor. And I'll say, this is excellent. Excellent. This is excellent. I want to now import the data from these URLs into my system. And these are the links that they provided previously. So let me close everything. Oops, can't close that. That's still running. That wasn't that. This hasn't been saved. I'll save it. There are a few links that they provided as a reference to start off for seeding some of our data. Nope, it's in our file that we created under docs, problem statement. Okay, so there it is right here. So I'm asking, I said, this is excellent. Now I want the system to import data from these URLs into our system. Oops. Copy as HTML if it lets me actually list. Well, copy it. It already knows. Sometimes I don't like when it just adds the line numbers like it just did. I don't feel it really, reads it, but I'm sure it does. So we'll see what happens. So I'm asking it to, okay, thank you for setting up this system. It looks like it's running just like we need it to. Now I need you to import this data. It's a tall order, but why not ask, right? It may have some system, some process that it could use to integrate all those addresses. So we'll see what it says. And one of the things that's real neat about these systems is it figures out a method to get that data into our system. Let's see. I don't know what happened. It didn't really take, so let's try it again. Okay, it's telling me that, hey, I'm doing too much stuff for free. You might want to consider switching to auto to end up using, so you don't end up using all of your credits. So I may do that in a second. The engine we're using is Claude 4.5, very, very robust engine, and we want to see what it can figure out in terms of getting this information. So once it figures out a process, okay, it looks like it's going to create a web scraper to import that data into our system. Once it figures out the process, then I'll switch it to auto, because I want Claude to engineer the idea for it, and then I'll let the auto just go ahead and facilitate the idea that Claude has already had. So it looks like it's creating a scraper that's going to allow the application to scrape that data into our system. So we'll see what it does. So it looks like it has to install some packages into our application just so we can use the functionality to get the data. It's doing the necessary cleanup and adding it to our system as it needs to. Okay, so now it's creating documentation for it. So it's created the scraper, and now it's creating documentation for the scraper so we know how to use it. This stuff is amazing. And we didn't even know we needed a scraper, right? Because remember, all we told it is, hey, we need to get these events from this website and put them in our website. Not events, I'm sorry. We need to get these bookstores into our website. I won't have you wait on all this. We'll see what it, well, here we go. It looks like it's kind of created something, and we're down to where it's testing it. So never mind. Look like we're pretty close, so I won't need to exit. So it found the error. It tried to test it out. So it said, okay, let me test this out. And then it found the error. It tested it out, and now it's going through, and it's scraped, and now it's worked, and it's gotten one bookstore. That doesn't seem to be right. We want to make sure that it can get more than one. So it looks like it needs some work. So it has to work on the scraping piece, but it doesn't have it, all figured out yet. So we're going to let it figure this part out, but know that it's working on a tool so that we can get the records, because our system is pretty sound already. The only thing we really haven't tested out was the importing the CSV file, but we could do that at another time. The important point that I wanted to illustrate is how we started from a user request. We revised that user request to make it more functional. We placed that user request, that revised user request, problem statement better, into a Replit system. Replit said, okay, I know what you're trying to do. Let me develop something. It developed an application that it felt, a front end, I should say, the design section of it, that it thinks would work best for us. It created that for us. Once it created it, we downloaded it to our local environment. Then we used a tool called Cursor, and Cursor is a automated code generation tool that helps generate code based on commands. It's AI based. So we use Cursor to show it our plan, tell it what we're trying to do, and have it create a plan so it can finish and complete this system. Now that it's completed that part, now we said, okay, we tested the application and we realized that we don't have any records in there. We want to use those records from the original document that they use the reference items. So we want to see if we are able to get the data from those reference links and pull that into our system. So that's the stage that we're at now. We'll let this go for a while, and this may take a few minutes to get this going, so I won't have you waiting here, but I just wanted to review what we've done so far and show you how amazing this is. So I'll return once we have the scrapers done, and then we can talk through that, but pretty fascinating stuff here. Okay, so it's at a point where it stopped generating, and it went on for about 20 minutes where it started generating all this information based on the plan it put together. So here is the plan, and then here are some of the messages. Actually, let me spread this out a little bit so you can read it. There we go. Okay, so it's gone through these steps. You can kind of see how it communicates with you. It says, hey, it's done this, it needs to go do this. It's doing all these things kind of by itself. Every now and then it may ask you for some feedback. In this case, while I had left, it didn't ask for any feedback. It just kept it going, and then it provided me with a final summary. And here it is. It created the bookstore outreach management system, and it says it's 95% complete for the implementation overall. Here's all the things that it's done. So it looks like it finished everything, but there's some challenges with sprint 6 and 7, and that's where we do the batch operations with notes and uploading and exporting mailing lists, etc. Advanced reporting. So it looks like there's still some things that need to be done, but it did a whole lot. So we want to let's push it to the limit. I mean, I don't like it not being complete, so let's finish it. So I'm going to tell it, let's complete sprint 6 and 7 to 100% completion. So it told us that we can use the system, and it gave us some commands we can run, and I'll show you that in a few. But I want to see why, it's not completed. So let's push it to make sure that it gets completed. So now it said, okay, it's going to complete 6 and 7, 100% completion, and it's going to create the necessary functionality to do so. So it's going to go through the process and create that information. So we'll wait again. And I'll do it like I did last time, so I won't keep you waiting. Sometimes I'm on the fence or not if I should have you wait, but I don't want to take a very valuable time when it may take 5 minutes to complete this. But you see just real quick that it's created the call list, and now it's doing the report progress. So that's generally how it's going to work and how it's going to complete items. Now, once it gets to a point where, okay, it's done, we're happy with it, then we go through the testing process, and we go through and test the functionality. If there's things that we don't like, we tell it, hey, I don't like how this does this. Hey, can you move this over here? Can you change the colors? Hey, this doesn't seem to be working. You talk to it like a human, really, like you're talking to a programmer. Hey, I need this added. This is not working correctly, whatever. And it seems to understand and is able to integrate and implement those items. So it is now working on a settings page for Sprint 7. And if we go back to our documentation, you see that this is the settings page. Notice that it created some additional documentation. It created a implementation summary. So this is going to show everything that it's completed. It's done all this stuff. It puts the check boxes on everything that it's created. And again, I didn't type any of this. I don't even know this language. right? So we go to look at the README. It created a README as well. And the README is just it's telling like users who go to the website and see, or not the website, but developers who may go to the application and need to update or make some changes, they can look at the README and get a very good idea of what the application does. So it provides you with some very detailed information about the application. The next thing, it created a quick start guide. And this is where it said, hey, you can get this going. All you have to do is follow these steps. And it walked us through the steps that we need to do to get this application functional. So it is still generating aspects to the sprint so it can complete the things that I've asked it. But this is pretty fascinating. You have to admit that, all we did is provided it with a problem, right? We refined the problem, and then we submitted that problem to an application called Replit. Replit then took that information and developed what it figured out as this front end design that could encapsulate that functionality. And we downloaded that data or that application so that we can use it locally within our Cursor environment. And then we told Cursor, hey, this is the plan. This is what we want to do. Create a implementation plan, create user stories and sprints for that. And it's done all those things so far. And now it looks like it's updating some documentation, and hopefully this will wrap up things and we can get an idea of where it's at next. So if we look at that, it's creating a look like a document that it created, and it's adding information to the implementation summary. So it's updating this document that it's already put together based on the new changes that it may have recently added. Okay, so that is really a fascinating thing about this technology, is that you see that it just added that whole chunk of code or chunk of information just right in front of us while we're just watching and waiting for it. But that's what's fascinating. Coming back, and let's see what happened. It told us that it completed it. It imported 51 records, independent bookstores across the U.S. Now there's 52 records. My test record is in there. There were 2 errors. They said it, all the status is not contacted. It includes bookstores from different locations. Wow. And now it's asking us to review the information, add any missing info, filter by states, and track progress. And it's giving us a location that it saved the data file. So it saved it in clients, bookstore, comprehensive bookstore, clients. Okay, so if we look in our project, clients, bookstore, comprehensive, let's see, comprehensive. Oh, it's actually at the root right here. Here it is. And there it is. Here's the raw data file that it saved for us. Pretty cool, right? And this was an extra bonus, right? We didn't really anticipate that. We just wanted to get the system working. So now let's view it and see. There we are. 52 stores automatically in the database. We're on our dashboard. And it goes through, and here's all the different stores. We can go through and possibly edit or problem. Okay, so it seems like there's a problem in terms of when I try to edit one of them, it doesn't allow me. So it doesn't even have the data in there. So what I'll do is say, I'll click on edit, then I'll do a screen print. And then what I'll do is take this to Cursor and say, hey, try to edit a record, the form is empty and doesn't seem to have the data attached. Right? So I'll send that to Claude. I'll send that to Claude, and we're going to change it pretty soon because I don't want to waste all my credits, because I think now we're just kind of managing bugs. So I'm going to do that right now. Go to auto. Auto is still good. I found auto to be really good. I worked with it a lot of different times for a lot of projects, and it seems to be sufficient. I like having the bigger brain for more deeper, comprehensive tasks. And then once that's laid out, auto's perfect. So let's see what it said. Let's see. It really didn't say much in terms of why it's not showing up incorrectly. Let's try it again. So go here, edit. Yeah. So it may think I think it's a miscommunication. Oh, for some reason, okay. Yeah, it didn't send the message. For some reason, I don't know if it's this version or something, but I've sent this message a couple times and it seems like it just didn't get sent. So now I sent it again and we'll see what happens. Hopefully it persists. But yeah, this is pretty sweet, right? Okay. Now it says this sees the issue. It's not loading the data when I try to edit the record. It sees it. It's going to go about it, fix it, and then we should be fine. So let's let it do that. Make the modifications. It found some other challenges, so it's going to fix those while it found them. And we'll just wait for it to complete. You know, when you start getting into doing this, it's a lot of waiting. It's a lot of waiting, a lot of answering questions, a lot of reading the screen. Sometimes the print's real small, so you got to pay attention to it because they're saying things that are important. Just like we saw, we needed to set up the database. If we didn't read that and just went by, our application would have never worked. But instead, it gave us step-by-step instructions. We followed those instructions, set up that Neon database, provided it with the information it needed, and now is able to continue with the functionality. So it looks like there's a couple other issues it found in doing so. So it's fixing those issues as well. Excuse me. And it continues to find things that are creating challenges for the application. So it's finding them and then it's going through and going to go fix them. Let's see where it's at. Okay, so it looks like it's going through and kind of mimicking to understand the data and trying to understand how it can make that fix. So it's making the modifications and fixing information. So we'll wait for it to do so. So while we're doing this, the next step that I want to talk to you about is I mentioned from excuse me, from problem to production. So this is, I'm testing it locally, and this is my local environment. So really the next step is to get it to an environment that's outside of my local environment so we can really see if this is going to work. So we want to move it to a production environment. So that's going to be our next step. And the production environment that I like is called Vercel, V-E-R-C-E-L. It's very good. It allows you to do a lot. It has a lot of flexibility and is able to really host these type of websites fairly easily. So now it's made the modification. Let's go back and check and see if the website is indeed changed. And look, before we just went back to it and it's automatically updated. So we'll just reset it by clicking the reload button, go to actions, go to, oh, what the heck? What the heck? It did it and then it didn't. Like for the ones that we were sitting on, it seemed like it was working, but then it didn't. So let me go back and kind of see what's going on. So we go here and we go to a different one and we go to edit, and the problem still persists. So we're going to go back and tell it, hey, the fix didn't work. The problem still persists. Actually, let's do a print screen and take it back to cursor. Didn't like it. Well, let's see. It did. I'm gonna tell it. It still did not work. Same exact errors are occurring. So let's see what it says. It's going to add some debugging. Okay, so it found the error before it needed to add the debugging. So it's making the modifications to fix that. Okay, so while it's fixing that, let me continue talking about, the production environment. So the Vercel is the production environment that we want to move this to eventually. But first, we need to move it to our code environment, our code repository. So we're going to use what's called GitHub. GitHub is a code repository, and it allows you to store your code changes there. So once you have a good version working, you can push that to Git, and then you'll have a working version. So that's where we want to do next. So let's see what's happening. So it's saying, okay, it puts some error logs in there. It's telling us to refresh our browser. It's telling us to check the logs. And then now we want to test it and see if it's still occurring. So we're going to close this out. We're going to go to the home page. We're going to, oops, not that home page. We're going to go to this home page. Reset it, go to the bookstores, click on the bookstore, go to edit, and we don't see any details. So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of look and see what's happening at the page error level. So we don't see any errors occurring, but we do have some messages. These are the messages that they probably put for debugging. So we're going to copy those messages and we're going to tell it, okay, it's same behavior. Here is the error. Here is the log, and then we just paste that information into the log. Into the environment, and wait and see what it says from that. Okay, so it sees that it's a timing issue. So he's going to add a key to the form inputs. Okay. He's going to try a different approach. For some reason, it's not responding, so it's going to try something different. So we'll just wait for them to finish, and then we will test out what they put in. So where I was going with that before we got interrupted by this was we're going to use a code environment for saving our source code. And that source code allows us to make modifications. So a lot of times with these type of applications and these environments, you'll have something that works really well, but then you'll give it another command and it may change everything totally up. So it's best to, once you have something working, to put that code away, store it away, so that you can work from that point. So let's see what it says. Okay, so it's saying it looks like it should be working now. So I'm going to close this part, reload my page, go here, edit. It's still the same thing. And instead of going back and forth and trying to fix this error, I'm going to work on this independently and then come back and get you up to speed. We're back, and it fixed the error that was persisting with the bookstore edit not working properly. I asked it to restart the server. It did so, and now here we are at the bookstore. So if we go back and let's just change Main Street Books. Let's change this one. Go back, update it, and now that bookstore record has been updated. So we see that now, one thing that I noticed, we have some, okay, where is it here? Was it here? No. Oh, if we go look at a bookstore, let's look at our test record and go to view details. Now, if we click this log interaction, it gives us this error. So what I want to do is copy that and go back and tell it when view details of a bookstore and clicking log record received this error. What should probably happen is it pulls up some type of form or some type of interface that allows me to document what happened with this record, whether it's I made a call or whether communication has went out. Now, it found the issue. It see that there was an empty string, so it's resolving that issue. We're going to go back, take a look at it, and make sure that that's taken care of. Okay, so if we go back, press it again. Okay, now this is what we should expect. Okay, so I talked to this person. I left a voice message. Here's notes that I've left and whatever. Okay, perfect, beautiful. So it looks like it's pretty functional. We have settings. This is for the configurations of the workflows, of the categories, of the names, of the general reports. We could go back into this, but we won't do that right now because one thing that is missing is the ability to send letters in a bulk, but I won't worry about that right now. I do like this feature. Ain't that pretty cool? So for now, we're good. Now we're going to move this to a production environment. And as I mentioned earlier, what that means is we're going to have to push it to what's called GitHub. This is our code repository. And from GitHub, we're going to have the hosting environment called Vercel pull it in. Now, it sounds like it's a lot, but it's not. So I'm going to come right back and I'm going to show you exactly what needs to be done. However, before doing so, make sure that you sign up for both a GitHub account and a Vercel account. And that's going to expedite this process tremendously. I'm at GitHub now. And the only thing I'm really concerned about here is this URL that I'm going to copy. So I'm going to copy that. And notice that I created a name, Bookstore Outreach CRM, and I made this a private repository. So I copy that, and then I'm going to head over to Cursor, and I'm going to tell it to add the code to this GitHub repo. Paste it there. And I'm going to let it figure out what it needs to do. So I have a few things on the left popping up. I'm not even going to worry about these things right now. I'm going to focus on just making sure that this information gets put to my repository. So recall, the reason we're doing this is this gets us one step closer to production. So we created it. We got the bugs worked out of it. Now we're pushing the good code to our repository. And after this, we're going to go to another environment, Vercel, and then we're going to, I guess, update it to production. So I'm at Vercel, the final step, and I have to give Vercel permission to use the repository that I want. And the repository that I'm interested in is the one we just created. We called it the bookstore outreach. Save that, and that sets that up. Now we're done with, okay, so we're at Vercel. We need to go back. Oh, it hasn't updated it yet. Oops. Now we can add it. So now it's selected down here. We import it, give it a name. We have environment variables that we need to set. So if we go here, go back to cursor, and you remember that .env file we set up? We have to copy all of this stuff and paste it all right here. And then we click deploy. And we're going to watch it and see what happens. So it looks like things are happening. It's setting up the dependencies, giving us some warnings. It doesn't look like it's a bad thing because it hasn't stopped. So it's just giving us some warnings and things like that. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so it deployed, but something's not working right. So what we're going to do, I'm going to copy this URL and tell cursor, hey, when I deploy, it didn't look right. Take a look. So it's probably some configuration setting. It's going to look at it. So just like it figured out. So the problem is it needs a specific configuration to do this. So now it's setting up a build script that's going to make this work a little better. The nice thing is now that we have it connected to GitHub and we have it connected to Vercel, what will happen is anytime we are ready to make changes and push our code to Git, it automatically is going to get deployed to Vercel. So we don't have to do anything now. So now it's just a matter of getting it working. And we have a URL If you recall, this is the URL, bookstore-outreach-crm.vercel.app. That's the URL that we would actually use to test. And once everything is functional, we can point that URL to an actual domain name, and it can actually be hosted and truly in production. So it looks like it fixed the problem. It created some stuff, and it's telling us what I just shared a few moments ago. It's automatically going to deploy it since it pushed it to the main branch. So if we kind of look back here, we looked at it made a git push. So it pushed the code changes that it made to add the configuration file to our GitHub. Our GitHub is connected to Vercel. Vercel is going to compile and configure those files in a few moments. And since we already have our environments variable set, we don't have to do anything for that. We just need to wait for it and test it. And notice that it gave us the same application that we had before, or the same URL that we had before. We can try to update it. It doesn't look like it's hit yet. So we'll just wait. I'll return when this is completed. When we tried to deploy it to Vercel, there were some issues. I told the LLM and it provided me with some information. It gave me another option. See, it didn't like Vercel as a deployment environment. So it told me it recommended Railway or Render. I had an account at Render, so I thought, okay, let's try that. So I went to Render, created a web service, deployed it, and it seemed to deploy. Here are the deployment steps. All I did was basically copied it and put my environment variables there. And now when I click on the URL, everything's out there. Here's the bookstores. That was the last problem with the last one, is that it didn't render all the bookstores. It wouldn't show any of the data. The call list, reports, settings, configurations. So there's a lot we still have to do. There's a security issue that we need to solve, ensuring that, we are protecting our application and protecting our data. We want to make it look a little better. We want to add our branding to it, etc. So it's a lot more we need to do, but as you can see, it's taken about an hour, and we've been able to go from problem to production. We're actually in a production environment. If we wanted to change the URL and register a URL, we could point to this service, upgrade our hosting a little bit, and we'll be ready to host majorly, to be able to take whatever requests. But since it's just that small business and they wanted to something that they can manage locally, this would be a good option for them to start collecting and managing that information. So hopefully this information was helpful to you. As you can see, this is just one concept, one use case that we decided to go with. We're going to be presenting others. But until then, let's continue to build skills. Thank you for watching. So we have the system and it's working, it's functional, but it's still not right. Okay, I have a problem with it. And one of the problems that I have is that it doesn't have enough data. The purpose of this site is so that it can encompass all the bookstores in the United States. And we have 52 bookstores, and that's not enough. We do have 2 references for data sources. So what I want to do now is switch gears and tell the system, hey, I need you to aggregate this information so that we can get those bookstores and put them in our system. So we don't want to do that within the main website. So we want to use it as like a separate utility or separate tool, because we're not going to use it every time. We're just going to use it one time. We need to get it working, perfectly, use it to get all the different bookstores, and then we're done with it. So it's a single use application. So what I'm going to do is I'm back in Cursor, and I'm going to tell it, I need to extract the full address information for all the bookstores on these websites. There's one. I don't think there's the other. I'll just copy the whole line. Can I copy? Come on now. Get my mouse. There we go. Okay, so it copied that information there. Now, I need right. So that's what we needed to do. Now the question is, where do we do this? And I think we can do it inside the project. We may want to create a brand new project and do it outside of that, but hey, I think we should be fine. And what I'm telling it to do is not actually do it right now. I want it to plan it, right? There's a planning mode. If you click on this down arrow, there's agent, plan, background, ask. If you have questions too about your code base, you can use the ask, and it can ask. Or if you have questions on what will I need to do if I want to change the theme color to these colors, I need to go to evaluate to find out what it needs to do to change it those colors, and then to report back to you. Another thing I want to take note of, I'm using a different model. I'm using O3. So you can scroll down, and one of the models that I chose was O3. I like O3 a lot. I think it's a very thorough model. I found it to be useful for a lot of planning. So I'm going to use that. Now, you would be fine using pretty much any model. I just particularly like the O3 model. GPT-5 would be excellent. Claude 4.5 would be excellent. Claude 4. Actually, there might be yeah, I think they would all be excellent as well. So I'm going to notify I'm going to tell it that there are hundreds of addresses we need to obtain, just so it has some type of understanding of how many. So let me send that request, and let's see what it's going to do. So it's asking, it says that we have some scraper tools available, but it doesn't, let's see. Okay, so let me answer and say the tool has only scraped 52 addresses, bookstores. I would need it to get every one. Let's ensure the tool is set up and configured to scrape both websites fully for all the bookstores. If paging is involved, ensure it is set up for that as well. So I wanted to really think about what it's doing. I don't want it to just go to the website, look, see it. No, I wanted to go to the website, click, see if there's any more addresses. And in fact, the one is a really rich website where it has all the states. So I wanted to click the states, see how it's structured. So it's going to go through the process. So now what it's doing is collecting its thoughts, creating a strategy, a plan, and what it's going to do. So looks like it sets something up, at least a plan. And I think that looks like it's pretty sufficient. I don't see anything that's out of a line here. I like, that it automatically does the deduplication. And what that's going to do is just ensure that if there are any duplicates, there's going to be a process internally that it creates to remove those duplicates. So it looks like it's set up. Okay, and it does. The main thing for me right here was the state, and then wanting to visit each state, and there we go. Some pages have pagination. So that's exactly what I wanted it to understand before we execute this. So it sounds like that's right. I would say yes, go ahead and I would say, yeah, go ahead and build it. So I'm going to let it go ahead with this process. So it's going to go ahead and create these tools. Once it's ready, I'll come back and I'll show you what it's created so that we can actually use the tool to grab the addresses and put them in the system. So it's back, and it said that it's created everything. It's only been about 2 minutes. So let's see what happens. Let's tell it to run it. And, sometimes it seems, I guess, irrelevant in some ways, because if you're in agent mode and you tell it to do a task, it's going to oftentimes go through the planning process. So is there a need to plan? I guess explicitly, if you want to tell it, hey, plan this, if it does so. Otherwise, it's going to go through the process and making a plan and generally following that plan also. Anyway, so we're going to let it run through this process. And because we got to go through so many different pages, so many different websites and go through that process, it's going to take a while. So I'm going to let this process run, and I'm going to come back and show you the results and then see if we could get that information imported into the system and up with our live data. So stay tuned. So it looked like it's running, and I just wanted to kind of show you briefly the kind of data that's looking like. So it's telling us that it's running and it's getting all these bookstores. So pretty nice. So I'll come back when it returns. So it looks like it's completed. No errors, it's complete. And it said it scraped 3,449 captured. It saved it as a CSV file. So now let's take a look at it. Let's go to the browser. Oh, wow. And here's our bookstore. So remember, it was 52 previously. And then I had a record that I deleted to test. So that made it 51. And it scraped 3,449. So yeah, that makes sense. So if I take a look at the bookstore list, wow. Wow. Rich information. Rich information. Okay, so now I have satisfactory. Before, I felt it wasn't enough. The whole purpose was to gather all the bookstores, and we didn't have a really comprehensive enough data set. Now, this is somewhere where that client can start with. They can start sending information out. They can verify that they sent it, follow up, get their books sent to them. So it really allows that business to engage. So I think we've met our goal that we wanted to accomplish with this. I hope you learned something. I hope you see what's possible. And please comment, ask questions, provide feedback. I'm going to do more of these type of videos, and I just want to get your feedback on this.